ReZero Season 3 was announced today at AnimeJapan, and I'm here to hopefully scratch the itch for ReZero content that you guys have been waiting for literal years. Now, when it comes to series like ReZero, which are adaptations of a light novel, there are generally going to be some cuts and usually for the worse. Season 3 has a lot of things going into it where knowing this cut information will make your viewing experience a lot smoother. It is possible some of this stuff gets reintroduced in the anime at some point, but just in case it doesn't, we're going to cover it here for you to be more in the loop. So here are 5 things you should know before ReZero Season 3. Number 1 is Omega. Now, this is a scene that takes place immediately after the scene where Subaru officially gets knighted. It could be the first thing we see in Season 3, but just in case it's not, you need to know this. After the knighting, we hear about somebody rushing through a dark space, their eyes shining with conviction. They have long pink hair and a long sleeved robe fluttering in the breeze, and they begin to levitate over a glowing circle. She ascends as if riding on an invisible floor, getting launched to the outside. She had safely left the barrier of the sanctuary, as she cursed that thing, or Amelia, for defeating the trials. She gives herself a name, Omega, and rushes through the trees to exit the forest. She notes that Beatrice had left the Forbidden Library, and Roswell had lost his gospel. However, very importantly, somebody had pocketed the burnt remains of Roswell's gospel. There was a world she was going towards, what never grew dull for her, abundant, endlessly sating her curiosity, a mountain of treasures for the dead, thirst for knowledge incarnate. She plucks a flower petal before popping it in her mouth. Even beautiful flowers would wilt. Why must the flowers wither? Were even the beautiful memories shared between people destined to wane? Ah, why must love fade, she asks, as the Witch of Greed was once again unleashed onto the world. The original clone, known as Shima, was stripped of her position as an overseer of the trials, and forced to live in the forest. This was discussed in Season 2. Echidna has now successfully taken over her body and used her to escape the sanctuary. Technically, this was very subtly shown off in the penultimate episode of Season 2, when Amelia runs into the laboratory and asks about the Ryuzu encased in the crystal. You can hear Echidna's voice responding to her from Shima.
You see this, and that's the very first thing you think of?
The implications of Echidna being released once again out into the world are obviously huge, and it has led some people to even speculate that the final antagonist of ReZero could be Echidna herself, being an extremely dangerous individual. However, that is just speculation. Number 2 is Wilhelm's injury. Right around when Rem and Krush lose their memories, Subaru and Wilhelm get to talking. Subaru thanks Wilhelm for his contributions to the battle against the White Whale, and after a while, Wilhelm reveals to Subaru that his left shoulder was bandaged, blood slowly oozing out of it at that very moment. Subaru tells him that looks painful and that Ferris should be able to heal a wound like that. However, it is a wound which cannot be healed. It was an injury inflicted by someone wielding the divine protection of the Death God. It is not a wound from the battle with the White Whale, but one from a long time ago that has reopened. Something that weighs very heavily upon Wilhelm. The divine protection of the Death God will slowly reopen the wound the closer the wielder is to the victim, meaning if you were struck by the wielder of the divine protection, left for a few years and healed, and met up with them again, the wound would immediately open back the closer you got. That is when Wilhelm drops the bomb on Subaru, that the divine protection was held by the previous sword saint, Theresia van Astrea. The deceased wife of Wilhelm is somehow, in some way, closer to Wilhelm now, reopening his shoulder wound from years ago. He isn't sure the reasoning, but all he says is that he must continue to pursue the witch cult in order to uncover the truth. Number 3 are the witches' deaths. Might sound strange, but indeed the individual manners of deaths for all the witches was cut, and in fact, some of them could prove important. Echidna wasn't traditionally killed, but more so, she collected the souls of the other witches before heading to the sanctuary. Her soul was then sealed there by the Mather's magic at Volcanica's instruction, in hopes that one day, her, the sage, and the sword saint could defeat the Witch of Envy if need be. Her body can be found in the tomb in the sanctuary, and she also claims herself that Satella has devoured her. Carmilla, the Witch of Lust, died in a way we aren't entirely certain. One source says that she was burned at the stake, and another also claims she was devoured by Satella. Minerva, the Witch of Wrath, one day starts punching people. Suddenly, they would get healed by the punches, and she would go all around the world healing people when she could. What she didn't know is that for all the damage she healed, she would distribute the opposite somewhere else in the world. Whenever she saved a life, someone would die. Nations would end up sending armies after her until one day, she gets trapped by a group of elves, eventually being driven mad and killed by the Witch of Envy. Yet again, other sources claim that she was instead devoured by Satella. Daphne, the Witch of Gluttony, had a bottomless stomach, so when she tried to cross the Great Agria sand dunes, she would find herself starving and die in that sandy tomb. Or as others claim, she was devoured by Satella. Sekhmet, the Witch of Sloth, would find her end when she battles against the divine dragon Volcanica at the edge of the world. Oh right, the anime cut this too. The ReZero world is flat. Allegedly. During battle, she was knocked off the world and plummeted to her death, or was devoured by Satella. Typhon, the Witch of Pride, was considered the third most powerful witch after Satella and Sekhmet. At some point, though, she would find herself trapped in a place called the Watergate City of Pristella, a city in Lagunica that was a famous tourist location built in the middle of a great lake. With constantly running waterways, it was sort of like Venice in the ReZero world. At some point, Typhon had gone there and was killed by a flood. Her remains are rumored to still rest in that city to this day. Number 4 is about Elsa and Melee. Some kind of important stuff was cut from the end of Season 2 regarding Elsa and Melee. To start, during the final episodes where they are battling in the Roswell mansion, the duo talk about a mama, who they seemingly refer to as if it's their boss. When they are defeated, Melee also mentions that if they had returned to mama now, they would certainly be scolded. What is also left out is that Melee is taken prisoner by the Emilia camp because they don't really want to kill a child and they also don't want to let her loose out there. Something that is even more interesting is after the knighting ceremony with Subaru and Emilia, Subaru gets to talking with Roswell. Due to the pact that holds him accountable and his word that he will cooperate in full, Roswell informs him that while he hired Elsa in the royal capital and now in the mansion, he had absolutely nothing to do with Melee accompanying her. Roswell's contract only targeted Beatrice, but those two had plans that went beyond his request. In other words, there was another culprit who had planned the attack on the mansion, besides Roswell, including the events of Arc 2 with the curse. Somebody else out there is targeting the Roswell mansion. Just who is this boss? And are they the one targeting the mansion, and for what purpose? All that and more will be waiting for you. Eventually. Anyway, let's get to the 5th and final thing you should know. Number 5, Felt's backstory. So, in the anime, it's never really explained what's going on with Felt. In the first arc, all we know is that at some point, Reinhardt grabs a hold of her because the gem shines for her. The entire reason, however, was revealed in Arc 3, just not in the anime. In the royal castle, after everyone is kind of shocked due to Felt's background as one of the filthy pores, Reinhardt draws attention to how she looks. She has the trademark looks of a member of the now deceased Lagunican royal family, namely her blonde hair and crimson eyes. Something even more important is that we also learn that just 14 years prior to Arc 3, a princess was kidnapped as a baby. This could explain why the Dragonstone lit up for her, or it could even be unrelated considering it picked a bunch of other candidates that have nothing to do with the royal family. All we know for certain is that it is likely Felt is of Lagunican descent, which would allegedly make her the last standing remnant of the royal bloodline. Who was she kidnapped by? Why was she kidnapped? And why did the Dragonstone choose her? Well, we frankly have no idea. All we know is that for some reason she falls under the criteria that the Divine Dragon of Lagunica has set, and we will see what happens from here. If you like this video and want some more information that will be very much relevant for Season 3, please do let me know in the comments below, and I'll get started on one immediately. Hopefully this video proves useful for you whenever the anime does come out. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm. You can check the description down below to follow me on Twitter, where I'm objectively correct all the time. You can also join my Discord, where we talk about My Hero Academia, ReZero, Jujutsu Kaisen, and stuff like that. And you can also now become a YouTube member, which basically just gives you access to behind-the-scenes content, a little badge on comments, and live stream chats, and access to some emotes. Only do so if you want to support the channel, though. But that's about it, though. Thank you for watching. See ya.